Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have a Majespecters. This is featuring Magician Souls and a Pendulum Boom Magician Engine. Really consistent and you can snowball in terms of advantage like crazy. We can put up a good couple of disruptions, including Vortex Dragon and multiple spell and trap interruptions like this card, which pops something, this banishes something, and this is just Solemn Strike on. Good steroids. So I guess I'll start with deck profile then, starting with the one Luster Pendulum. This just gets you a free body on board, and being able to get the bodies on field is very important in Majespecter, since every single card generates advantage on summon. You do want to have the you do want to have access to getting easy access to them on board. Next we have triple QB because the traps are super good. Banish and Solemn Strike is broken. So you do run triple QB. Ogama is able to search both spells and traps. So since you're not running a lot of spells, and it's also a kind of it's also a high scale, and you do run a good couple of high scales anyway. So the double Ogama, and by the way, everything in Majespecter cannot be targeted or destroyed, so they're just better than Dragoon Smile. Next we have the double Yata. This is able to search spells specifically, but there aren't any real good spells apart from Majespecter Cyclone. You might consider Majespecter Sonics, which is a spell speed 1 spell, and you do generally just want the ability to disrupt your opponent more than be a bit more passive. So the only spell I'm running is Cyclone, and Cyclone is really good. By the way, it's basically Trident. Next we have the triple Bunbuku. This card is the best card in deck. It searches your Majespecters. You can use it if you're trying to grab something for a Pendulum summon. You can use it if you're... And you're also able to like search any... If you need a scale to Pendulum summon other cards, then you can also search them. He just grants you a lot of flexibility and is probably the best card in the deck. The double Nekomata. This card's also really good. Well, it's not the greatest one. It's probably the worst Majespecter, but it's able to search any Majespecter card. It can be a spell, trap, or a monster. So since this is a bit of a control-ish deck, having this ability is super good. Next, for our spells and traps, we have the 2 Cyclone. I run 2 of it since I don't necessarily want to run out of my main deck fuel too quickly. But the thing about Majespecter is all the main deck spell traps are inherently bricks, since they do need you to have control wind spellcasters, and you can only really control wind spellcasters if you're specifically searching them off your Majespecters. So that's kind of specifically why I'm running a low count on the spells and traps. And once you run out of them, you do turn to your extra deck and look for options over there, and then get more aggressive. It's kind of similar to Drytron, where like Drytron, they revolve around being able to search ritual monsters and ritual traps. But like take Alpha for example, they're literally only running 5 ritual monsters, and Alpha is probably their best Drytron, by the way. So it's kind of a similar concept here, where you just go to your extra deck once your main deck options finish. So Cyclone is a Trident. Next we have a Terraforming with 2 Majesty's Pegasus. It's inherently 3 copies of Majesty's Pegasus, but Terraforming just deck thins a bit. It's not like once you get 1 copy of it, you don't really need any other copies of it, so I'm not fully maxing out on it. But what it does is it's able to tribute a wind spellcaster, and it's able to summon a Majespecter from your deck, so you're able to grab whatever you need, which is very important. The only downside is that if you draw other copies of it, they are bricks. So that's kind of the only downside, and it is a pretty big downside, especially in a grindier game where you do need those draws more often. So but the card's super good, and being able to run Magician Souls is also a plus side here, since it just grants you a lot more. It's able to send Majesty's Pegasus to graveyard for a draw, and that way the other copies of Majesty's Pegasus don't really become that big of... They don't become big bricks in a nutshell. Next we have the traps, the 1 Tornado and the 2 Tempest. A Tornado, it's basically Tempest, not Tempest, Cyclone, but instead of destroying it, banishes, which is better, I guess. But the problem with it is that it's a trap, so it is inherently slower than Cyclone. So I generally prefer having Cyclone over the Tornado, so that's why I'm only running at 1. And then we're running 2 Tempest. It's Solemn Strike. If a monster would be special summoned or a monster effect is activated, you tribute a wind spellcaster to just negate that summon or activation. So basically a searchable Solemn Strike, which is super good. Next we have our Magician engine, starting off with the 1 copy of Odd Eyes Dissolver. You're usually just sending it to the graveyard of Magician Souls, and the other copies of Magician Souls do not become bricks once you use the Odd Eyes Dissolver, because you're able to shuffle it back into the deck with the help of Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. And the way you're getting Odd Eyes Dissolver out of your graveyard is by using Selene, and you all know how pendulums work. You're just really, but once you get the 2 pendulum scales, you basically have three spell counters on her already. Next up we have the 2 White Wing Magician. This might surprise a few people, but White Wing Magician is very important just because of her typing, Wind Spellcaster. So being able to summon her off Harmonizing Magician is really plus, just because you get an extra monster to tribute for your Majespecter spells or traps, and it's also a low scale, which can be pretty handy, and you can also make good work with it with Majesty's Pegasus, which is probably its most notable virtue. Next we have the Performed by Celestial Magician. It's mainly a high scale to search off Pen Call, but its effect also pluses you, which is really good. I believe it can search any pendulum monster, I believe. Yeah, you can add any pendulum monster during the end phase if you hard summon it, so getting that extra advantage is really good. Next we have the Triple Harmonizing Magician. This card is broken, summons out any magician you want from deck, and with that access you're able to make Time Stars, search Magician Souls, which is always good. It can summon White Wing if you're in the need for a wind spellcaster, and it just really does you wonders being able to summon cards from your deck for free. Next up we have the Triple Pen Call. This card is obviously like really important in just being able to search your Pendulum Magicians. I'm not running Duelist Alliance because I don't really have the space for it necessarily. I've cut off everything I can, so Pen Call also protects all of your Magician cards in your Pendulum zones, which is really good too. So the Triple Pen Call. Next we have the Triple Magician Souls. Another super good card. You can actually just discard, not discard, you can send the trap cards or spell to traps you get off the Majespecters just to get extra draws, and it is also able to just help you reuse Ties with Brethren, gets you extra draws, which is super important in a Pendulum deck. So Magician Souls is there for sure. A Triple Ash just as an extra hand trap, and then a Triple Ties of Brethren. This is another reason why you prefer White Wing, is just because she's a Ties of Brethren target, and in my opinion it is kind of a staple in Majespecter. It just grabs you extra copies of cards like Ogama, Kyubi, Yada, Bunbuku. All of them are just summoned off Ties of Brethren, and then you get like 3 searches, which is really insane. It does lock you out of special summoning, but you don't special summon a lot anyways in this deck, apart from Pendulum summoning and maybe the occasional Selene play. So Ties of Brethren, super good card in this deck, since you do want to keep the monsters on your field and you're not necessarily linking them off anywhere. Next up we have the 1 copy of Vortex Dragon, just summon off Dissolver. It's a negate and an interruption on summon. We have the Ignister Prominence. Not only is it able to hurt your opponent by like shuffling any card on field into deck, non-targeting, non-destruction removal, it's also just able to summon a Luster Pendulum from your deck. So if you want to go into rank 4, say something like Abyss Dweller or Tornado Dragon, and then you can go into Zeus, it can be useful for that too, which is really cool. Next we have the Meteor Burst Dragon. This card can be pretty cool. If you have one of your level 3 Majespecters, or in other words Bunbuku or your Nekomata, you're able to synchro summon this card, and then you're able to summon one of the Majespecter cards in your Pendulum zone, and that obviously just generates you extra advantage and just snowballs even further. Next off, we have the Zeus. You can easily make Xyz monsters in this deck thanks to your plethora of level 4s and easy access to them, so Zeus is a no-brainer. Time Star, it's mainly there to search souls, but if you're not searching souls, you can always just do other Majespecter things with Time Star. You're usually summoning him thanks to our Harmonizing Magician. Next up, we have the Tornado Dragon. A Tornado Dragon is really good in this format just because it is able to pop cards practically for free. So Tornado Dragon is a really good card. Next, we have the Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is just locks your opponent out of the graveyard, which is really broken in this format. Like, just look at something like Virtual World. Like, can they do anything without access to King Long, Chuche, or a Nyan Nyan in the graveyard? I doubt that. They lose access to the Researcher, they lose access to an Inherent Monster Reborn, they lose access to a Level Modulator, that just makes them get VFD easier. Against Drytron, they can't use Benton, they can't use a Drytron effect in the graveyard, they can't use Dawn Knight, they can't use Meteonis. It's just super broken in this format. It even stops Eldritch, it stops practically everything in the format right now. So Abyss Dweller, broken card. Next we have Totem Bird. Totem Bird is a spell or trap negate if you're able to make her using two of your two level 3 wind monsters, since everything is wind. Usually you're using a Bunbuku, two Bunbukus, or one Bunbuku and Nekomata. So it is relatively easy to make in this deck as opposed to others, so that's why I'm including it. Next up, we have our links. We have access code. Access code is, well, the OTK machine. Like, what else can I say? We have the Appaloosa. It's a wind monster, so it's a wind monster, so there's no synergy with the wind attribute to be specific, but just being a wind monster can definitely prove to be rather helpful. Next up, we have the Nightmare Unicorn for spot removal. We have the Selene in order to mainly revive Dissolvers, since you're sending it directly to the graveyard using Magician Souls, and you're very easily able to get 3 spell counters on it just thanks to the sheer amount of Pendulum monsters you run. You also run triple Pen Call, and Terraforming and Majesty's Pegasus and all of that, so you are pretty consistently able to get the 3 spell counters needed. Next up, we have the Nightmare Phoenix, just for popping cards. The Wind Charmer, it's a link to Wind Spellcaster, which is really what matters, and it's effective to summon cards from your opponent's graveyard. Let's just say Wind isn't the most represented attribute, but against the Virtual World matchup, it can be pretty handy. It can revive one of your opponent's Shen, I believe, to a zone it points to, just for free, you know. And I'm pretty sure under Shen, the Pendulum monsters still go to the extra deck, so that's pretty cool. And finally, the one Cerberus, just for extra spot removal. The extra deck is pretty lenient, so do choose to just run whatever you want. So that is the deck. Really good, snowballs and do a lot of advantage, and is super fun to play with too. Do give it a try. And before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, as it really does help the channel. And I'll be seeing you next time. Goodbye.